Like rodents fleeing the apocalypse, this is how Ukrainian troops were found hidden in basements, entrenched and desperate. The Ukrainian soldiers trapped in the Kurs region looked like shadows of an army that had lost all hope. They fell in the village of Cherkasskoye-Pori in the mentioned region. The Chechens under their command showed them to the world in a viral video that you will see in seconds, carrying a clear message. There is no refuge for those who defy Russian power. Time has run out, and the fate of these prisoners is sealed. The basements will not be their salvation, but their symbolic tomb. They were hiding in the basements. No matter how hard they try, Ukrainian troops no longer have salvation. The video has gone viral, and you will watch it right now. The soldiers' faces say it all. User 280481 was the one who published this video on their Telegram channel, showing Ukrainian soldiers who were hiding in one of the basements in the village of So in the region of C. According to Kirov, combatants from the Tipson detachment of the Akhmet Special Forces discovered 2 soldiers of the Ukrainian armed forces in the basement. They had decided to wait in the basement for the encounter with the Russian combatants, but their method of hiding and waiting did not work this time, and they were quickly discovered. Their fellow soldiers, who saw the Russian army approaching, tried to escape. However, the signalmen stopped 2 less fortunate mobilized men. In practice, we have seen that the lack of training has an extremely negative impact on the combat capabilities and effectiveness of the units. But now, their lives are no longer in danger. They were lucky to draw a winning ticket, Kirov commented in his post. The image of the captured Ukrainian prisoners being dragged from the shadows of the basements in the Kurs region is a tangible representation of a war that has no turning back for those who tried to resist. The leader of the Chechen Republic, Ramzan Kirov, explained that the prisoners had been caught while trying to escape, but their efforts were in vain. The Ukrainian soldiers who claimed they did not want to fight against Russia and had been forcibly mobilized represented a resistance that was crumbling, a resistance that, despite efforts, could not escape the iron grip of the Russian military machine. We had no time to escape. Our comrades ran wherever our eyes could see, the prisoners said, a statement that reflects the desperation of those who knew their fate was sealed. With tears in his eyes, one of them said, "I hope to survive." It was a sincere but futile plea. The commander of the Russian Akhmet Special Forces, A.B. Alanov, did not hesitate to respond with a disturbingly calm tone. "You have already survived," referring to the luck they had in being captured alive, something that not all prisoners of war in this conflict could say. This scene of despair, in which the Ukrainian soldiers found themselves trapped and stripped of hope, is just one piece on the vast military chessboard that Russia has been meticulously building. The Russian Ministry of Defense, which had previously reported the liberation of 2 more settlements in the Kurs region, Soshenka and Rubshina, made it clear that the offensive would not stop. The time to flee had already run out for many Ukrainian militants. Their fate was sealed, and Russia, increasingly closer to its goal, was making them pay for their resistance. For those who still remain in the trenches, the hope of an honorable surrender or a safe retreat was fading as Russian forces advanced relentlessly. The opportunities to surrender, as warned by Russian Presidential Press Secretary Dmitry Peskov, were running out. The clock was ticking against them, and with every passing second, it became clearer that Ukrainian troops had no refuge to escape to. As Russian forces consolidated their advances in the region, Moscow's military authorities were not only capturing soldiers, but also destroying Ukraine's military infrastructure. General Andrei Gurulev, a high-ranking Russian army officer, recently emphasized that while peace negotiations were still a topic of conversation, Russia was not willing to make concessions without clear security guarantees. There will be no ceasefire, Gurulev stated firmly. For Russia, the cessation of hostilities would only be possible if conditions were guaranteed to secure the country's integrity. This firm stance from Russia makes it clear that the Kremlin is not willing to yield in its fight. The attempts by Kiev and Europe to maintain a belligerent stance, largely fueled by Western interests, have only intensified Moscow's determination. The words of Maria Zakharova and Sergei Lavrov, Russia's foreign ministers, leave no room for doubt. Until Ukraine and its allies make a firm commitment to ensuring Russia's security, the special military operation will continue. Peace in this context will not be achieved without meeting these fundamental conditions. Amid this unstoppable advance, the voices of Ukrainian prisoners, who in their desperation seek solace in the possibility of an escape, sound like a distant echo, almost like a warning to those who still think they can escape Russia's relentless grip. Surrender seems to be the only option left for many. But even that option is coming to an end as Russian forces close in on the last strongholds of resistance. The conflict, which began as an aggression and a defense of geopolitical interests, has evolved into an all-out struggle in which Ukraine's fate appears to be sealed. The Russian armed forces, with their vast experience and resources, have demonstrated a strategic capability that, in many aspects, has left their enemies with no options. Previously, the Russian Ministry of Defense announced the start of demining operations in the Kursk region. The Russian armed forces found in the liberated territory munitions banned by the Geneva Convention, including PFM, one-cluster anti-personnel mines. Ukrainian soldiers, forcibly mobilized and without proper training, now face an inevitable fate. Trapped in basements with no escape, war shows no mercy, and Russia has made it clear that it will not stop until its dominance is secured. Peace negotiations, for now, seem to be nothing more than a mirage, an illusion that may have completely faded as Ukrainian troops find themselves trapped in their own helplessness. This report paints a grim picture of the conflict, showcasing the dire situation faced by Ukrainian troops as Russian forces continue their relentless advance. The scenes of soldiers hiding in basements, stripped of hope and awaiting an inevitable fate, symbolize the broader reality of a war that has left little room for escape or negotiation. The Russian military's strategic precision, combined with its unwavering determination, has significantly weakened Ukrainian resistance, reinforcing the message that there is no refuge for those who stand against Moscow's power. As Ukrainian fighters face capture or worse, the Kremlin makes it clear that peace will only come on its own terms, terms that demand total submission. The West's continued support for Kyiv may prolong the struggle, but on the battlefield, the reality is stark. Russian forces are consolidating control, tightening their grip on contested regions, and dismantling any remaining opposition. The fate of those who resist is sealed, and as the Russian war machine moves forward, it leaves behind a chilling message. Surrender is the only path left. Watch the full video now to witness firsthand the latest developments in this high-stakes conflict, and stay tuned for more updates as the situation unfolds.